Good day everyone, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Welcome back to the Systems and Analysis Design class. This should be our 8th session, and in this session we're going to discuss how to effectively design an output. Let's check it out. In order to understand effective output and input design, we will need first to understand the output and input design objectives. These are the output design objectives. The first one is to serve a specific user or organizational purposes. So this means that the output is designed in order to fulfill a user's need or the organizational's need. So it all depends on the user's or the organizational need of the output. The second one is that the output should be meaningful to the users. This means that the users will be able to use the output for their decision-making process. And the third one is to deliver the appropriate quantity of an output. As you can see that between quality and quantity, there's a trade-off. The higher the quantity, the lesser the quality. But the lower the quantity, the higher the quality. But this means that you need to pick one of the side. So this means by delivering the appropriate quantity, you can maintain the quality of the output also. And the fourth one is to make sure the output is where it is needed. For example, if the sales department produce an output from their sales system, so the output will be used by the department that is related with the sales department. For example, the marketing department, or even the higher level organizational structure. For example, the sales manager or the director of sales, or even the president director. These four first design objectives are basically based on the content of the output itself. So whether it can fulfill the user's need, or whether the content of the output is meaningful to the users, as well as the content of the output is where it is needed. And based on the content of the output, we can separate into two different types of output. The first one is the internal output, which is basically the output that is produced by the system and is intended to the internal structure of the organization. For example, the employees and the managers of the company. While the other one is based on content that is supposed to be given to the third party, which is basically the external output. An external output is usually given to third party that is related to the company, or even not related to the company. For example, promotions to customers, and other non-customers also will get some promotions, and also some reports that should be given to the suppliers. The fifth one is to provide output on time. This should depend on the output technology that is being chosen. For example, if the systems wanted to provide an online real-time output, this means that the technology that is chosen can also provide that online and real-time output. The last of the output design objectives is to choose the most effective output method. We can pick from several options. As we can see here, we have several types of output methods. The first one is the printed output, and then we also have the display screen output, and then we have the audio output and podcasts, and next we have mobile devices output, including tablets and laptops, and last we have the electronic output, including emails, websites, blogs, and RSS feeds. All of the different output methods here have their own advantages and disadvantages, as you can see here. For example, a printed output is very simple and affordable, however it is environmentally unfriendly. While the display screen output is very interactive, however it requires space to install the display screen. And next we will discuss about output bias. An output bias is basically when the system produces an output intended to the users, however, the users misinterpret the output. So there is a bias there. The output bias can happen in the information system in several ways. The first one is how information is sorted. Usually, the output is sorted sequentially. If the output is sorted at random, then the user will have difficulties in trying to understand the output, since humans usually look at it sequentially. The second one is when setting of acceptable limits. A bias can happen, for example, if I design a PowerPoint output, usually the acceptable limits that can be read by users is maybe 5 to 10 rows. If it's more than 10 rows, for example, 100 rows of wordings, this means that it should be a novel instead of a PowerPoint. Users will probably misunderstood what I'm trying to inform in the PowerPoint. Next, bias can also come from the wrong choice of graphics. For example, I want to compare the sales of cars and trucks. In this histogram graphics, it's very difficult for me to compare each year of the sales from cars and trucks. While if I choose a different kind of graphics, for example like this one, it will be easier for users to compare sales of cars and trucks per year using this kind of graphics compared to the previous one. Once we consider the output bias, next we will start with the output design. We have printed output, display output, and graphic output. Display output, although they are different in their methods, for example, printed output is usually for text output, tables output, or even graphical output, but they are static. While display output is usually more interactive compared to the printed output, because although it's a display output, we can use a touchscreen as a display output. And the third one is the graphical output. This is basically similar with the printed output and display output. However, the result is in graphicals. And the fourth one is the dashboard. Dashboard is an output design that consists of a lot of aggregate informations. And the aggregate information is shown in an indicators type. For example, it's similar with the car dashboard or your motorcycle dashboard. It will show us the indicators of some key performance indicators that is available in the company. For example, sales and so on. And it will indicate on the status of the key performance indicators of the company itself. For example, just like a fuel indicator, when we want to refuel our gas, we can see it from the fuel indicator. This kind of output design is usually intended for top-level management. Next, we have the infographics. Infographics is the output design that is intended for a certain type of topics to be delivered to the users. For example, here is the topic is how to create a human. These infographics shows sequential information in animated infographics. Where does a human come from? And next we have the Web 2.0 output design. The design is basically based on the social media designs. So in the web page of the Web 2.0, we have a lot of social media accounts and a lot of social media postings and sharings and so on. And the next one is the app or mobile applications. The design is a bit special because you need to consider the availability of the output designs to users who are using mobile phones. So this means that the screen on a mobile phone is very small, so you will probably need to design the output as to be easily readable by the mobile phone users. And the last one is the Extensible Markup Language Output Design or XML design. The XML is a very flexible output where you can convert the XML output to a lot of output designs. For example, to a mobile phone design, or even an XML document that can be sent to another systems on the supplier, or even another systems to the company's branch. Well, I guess that's all that I can explain to you all about designing effective output. Then I'll be seeing you guys in our next session. Thank you very much for your attention and participation. Do not forget to subscribe to my channel. Good day. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.